people raise campaign-wise doesn't really matter as the big number. So people can come out and say they raised 20 million, 30 million, a bajillion dollars on the campaign trail. That doesn't actually matter. What matters is the burn rate and what you can spend. And there's a trick. And the trick is this. The trick is you can bring in money for your primary and money for your general election. So I think the maximum amount is like $6,500 now. It's inflation over time now. Hang on a second. FEC maximum contribution to a candidate is now $3,300. So $6,600 total. So if I write a check to a candidate, I can give the candidate $6,600. But that $6,600 is kind of masking the actual rule. According to the Federal Election Commission, the most I can write to a candidate for a primary is $3,300. The most I can write to a candidate for general election is $3,300. For any election, $3,300. The election is the primary and then the general. So if I write Ron DeSantis a check today for $6,600, he is only allowed to spend $3,300 of those dollars until the general election. So when someone says I raised $15 million, which is what DeSantis raised, you got to ask, how much do you have cash on hand? Because if you're raising $15 million and you're spending $50 million, well, you got no money in the bank. So what's the cash on hand? According to Ron DeSantis, the cash on hand is $13.5 million. That's a good number. But what can he spend in the primary? Because again, remember, I can write you a $3,300 check for the primary. I can write you a $3,300 check for the general. But in the primary, you can only spend $3,300 of my $6,600. So that number is $5 million. In other words, money's still tight for DeSantis. You got $15 million raised. You've got $13.5 million in the bank, but you've only got $5 million you can spend in the primary. That's a smaller number. However, keep in mind that DeSantis is structured differently from many of the other campaigns. And the book that is going to be written after this campaign is over is whether his super PAC strategy was wise. What's the super PAC strategy? Well, DeSantis has a big super PAC called Never Back Down that is supporting him. And that super PAC has a massive amount of money. It has a huge war chest. What the DeSantis campaign decided to gamble was on the strategy of allowing an outside super PAC to do door-to-door efforts, which are expensive, and supplement the advertising message of the campaign. So DeSantis comes up with a message, and if we're honest here, and look, I got a lot of friends on the DeSantis campaign, and I got a lot of friends who support DeSantis. Don't mean to ruffle feathers with them. I seem to ruffle feathers with everyone these days. But part of the issue here is that the DeSantis campaign out of the gate should have had a better message. They should have launched with a big shindig instead of the Twitter disaster. They should have had a pivoted message away from the culture fight and Disney towards the economic message that resonates even with primary voters. And they didn't do that. It took them a while to retool to make a bigger economic message. Now, the DeSantis people I know don't want to admit they made any mistakes, and I don't blame them. But from the outside, as someone who actually knows campaigns and ran campaigns and was myself elected to office once, even though just a city council, it's all kind of the same thing, just at scale. And the message he needed to do once he announced was an economic message. And he should have had a big shindig that was covered by every major press operation in the country on a stage with a backdrop with a diverse array of people holding up DeSantis 2024 signs and focused on the economy and said he was coming, the great American comeback. It was going to be around the kitchen table and the pocketbook and in people's homes and on and on and on. He should have done that. He didn't. He launched on Twitter. It crashed. It gave him a stub toe on his first day, but he still raised $20 million out of the gate. That he raised $20 million out of the gate and then raised $15 million second quarter is not actually a bad thing. That's a good thing. That he raised $15 million while the Trump campaign has been spending more money to stop DeSantis than to stop Biden is actually a really good thing for Ron DeSantis. That he only has $5 million cash on hand in the bank is a problem. He had a very high burn rate. But don't forget, never back down. He's got that as well. The question now is the theory of the campaign right? And I don't know that it is. The theory of the campaign for DeSantis is that he goes to Iowa, he makes a big splash, he shows that everyone's God bleeds, that Donald Trump bleeds, he's mortal, he can be beaten. And his theory is that that'll cause rapid consolidation and a lot of voters will decide, you know what, I can go with DeSantis. Maybe that's true. To an extent, I think it is. I just don't know that it's to the extent that he thinks it is. I think you still got to have a multi-state campaign. DeSantis still has to engage in other states, not just fundraising, but actual messaging. You've got Iowa very quickly thereafter. You've got New Hampshire very quickly thereafter. You've got caucuses in Nevada, and you've got South Carolina. And then it goes to other states thereafter. It's going to be a fast-moving process spread over 3 months. Yes, a fast-moving process, but spread over 3 months because you got to build momentum. If he wins in Iowa, he's got to build momentum to hop into New Hampshire. Nikki Haley is now in second place in New Hampshire. She and Chris Christie are battling it out in second place in New Hampshire. How does this consolidate the race? And then the fundraising. What is Haley's fundraising? She's been quiet so far. Tim Scott is telling people already, don't worry about it, wait for South Carolina. That's not the sound or sign of a winning campaign. Mike Pence has been very quiet thus far with his fundraising numbers. What has Mike Pence raised? I'm interested to see what Haley raised. Because here's my theory of the campaign right now. I'm going to date stamp it. My apologies to those of you listening on the Best Of Weekend show if you hear this segment. It's October 4th. We will know everybody's numbers no later than October 15th. That's the law. They have to reveal their third quarter fundraising numbers by October 15th. So, what do we get? Here's my guess. My guess is that Haley has done better than people were expecting her to. And I think this race really becomes a DeSantis-Haley-Trump race. Now, some of you will say, Ramaswamy, what about him? He's not going to get out of the race. None of these people are going to get out of the race anytime soon. But I don't really consider Ramaswamy a candidate at this point. He is technically a candidate, but he's really a stalking horse for Donald Trump. If you haven't paid attention, you should start paying attention. News reports now saying that the Ramaswamy and Trump campaign have been in regular communication, and Trump has been encouraging his bid, and they've been supportive of each other. Ramaswamy has pivoted repeatedly on Donald Trump to minimize his former attacks on Trump. He's a stalking horse for Trump. He's on the debate stage in Trump's place. His supporters are Trump supporters, so I don't really consider him a candidate. Ramaswamy's supporters are people who would vote for Donald Trump by and large. Not all of them, but most of them. This is really a race between Haley and DeSantis and Trump, depending on Haley's numbers. And given her debate performance in 2 debates, the odds are it's going to help her. She's never lost a race before. But I don't think DeSantis has either. But you know what? Neither is Donald Trump. 2 of them will lose a race. The question is which 2? And that's still sorting itself out. I just let me say this. I realize that Trump reigns supreme in the polling. He really does. But he doesn't reign supreme in the fundraising. And ultimately, he's going to need some money. He's going to need money, if not to combat these Republican candidates. He's going to need money to combat Joe Biden. It's one reason Trump wants to shut down the rest of the debates and declare the primary over is he wants to be the nominee because then the RNC can pay his legal bills and he doesn't have to pay his legal bills. But that's not going to happen. We're going to have a debate in Miami in November. I wish we would have one before that. I think we should have a debate this month. But concurrent to all of that, I don't think we're going to see any other candidate outraise Ron DeSantis. I don't even know that Donald Trump's going to outraise Ron DeSantis. Trump, more likely than not, will, but given his last quarter fundraising, maybe not by much. I don't see how any of the other candidates will outraise him. And the question then must become who should drop out of the race. If your fundraising numbers are bad, real bad, it's probably time to get off the debate stage and let the race consolidate. DeSantis is showing he has the money to go the distance. I suspect Haley will too. The question is, among the other candidates, who else will have the money to go the distance. And I don't know who that will be. But by October 15th, because of federal law, we will find out.